Today, we're going to celebrate volunteers who have helped build this community, who have helped shape our community and continue to make this community resilient. We all have a personal reason for volunteering. On our tables are pictures of everyday people for whom volunteering is personal. Today, we will hear the impact of these stories and the important work that volunteers do in our community that we are engaged in. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others?
Well, good morning. And it's great to see such a big crowd here at Volunteer Fairfax for the 27th annual awards celebration. I go back with Volunteer Fairfax a long way. When I was a Providence supervisor, I was always in a competitive race with Drainsville. John, where are you? It was your successor, twice removed, Stu Mendelson, a loser. I beat him every year. Usually we'd hold out how many projects we really had till he would announce. And he'd proudly announce he had 18 projects, and then I'd wait and say, well, we have 23. At any rate, it was a healthy competition. In Fairfax County, we could not run this community without volunteers. In almost every facet of life, we depend on volunteers. For our parks, for our police, for our firefighters, for our libraries, for environmental volunteerism, for mentoring, for our young people, for companions with our seniors. Every aspect of life is undergirded by people willing to give of themselves. Marion Wright Edelman once said, volunteerism is the rent we pay for the air we breathe. And that's a great philosophy, isn't it? All of us kind of just, it's got to be woven into our lives. It's just something you do. It's something you give back to your community as a natural thing. And in Fairfax, we certainly have brought that to a fine art. I was looking at the data. We claim that we have 6,000 volunteers providing over 328,000 hours of volunteerism. Somebody put a price tag on that of $6 or $7 million. I think there is no price tag to be had on that. How do you evaluate the return on investment when you mentor a young person and that young person makes it through school and is able to set himself or herself on a career path of success? How do you measure success if you save a kid from joining a gang? Or you comfort somebody who's lost a loved one and facing senior years alone? How do you put a price value on tapping into talent nobody else has seen because the opportunity wasn't there, and that person gets to shine and make his or her own contribution? The dignity that flows from volunteerism, the dignity that's endowed on the recipients of volunteer efforts, is something we can't put a price on. But it's real, it's meaningful, and in Fairfax, it's built one of the most successful and wonderful communities in the United States. So thank you, Volunteer Fairfax, for organizing us today. But most important, thank you to all of the volunteers for what you do each and every day. Unsung, heroic efforts that make a difference in people's lives. Not everything we do in Congress passes unanimously. But I am pleased to tell you that when I put in a certificate recognizing today's honorees and awardees, there was no opposition in the United States Congress. Congratulations.
Because our theme is It's Personal, I am forced, being an introvert that takes a little coercion, to talk a little bit about me. I'm Rick Garza, the current board president of Volunteer Fairfax. And we moved to Fairfax County about 12 years ago. And despite the weather today, no, we did not move here for the weather. We were moving from Southern California, where, weather is always gorgeous, or at least that's what, the Visitors Bureau wants you to believe. We moved here because both my wife and I were involved in international development, and DC area is kind of the US center of that activity, and so we were looking to stay engaged in that, and this was just the right area, it was the right time in our life. In international development, a word you often hear is humanitarian. I liked that word, and I sort of adopted it personally. One good definition of that word is this: concerned with or seeking to promote human welfare. I think that really describes the people in this room and the volunteers, and it's the why are we doing what we do? But then at some point in time, a why gets connected to an opportunity, and then it gets connected to an action, a doing. So you've got the why, you've got the opportunity, you've got the action. When those three things happen together, something magical happens. Every hour in Fairfax County, someone is volunteering. When an elderly person loses their lifelong companion and becomes dependent on others for help, that's a volunteer opportunity. When a teen couple welcomes a newborn without proper parenting skills, that's a volunteer opportunity. When someone in our community becomes homeless, falls into addiction, or becomes afflicted with mental illness and has nowhere to turn, that's a volunteer opportunity. The people in this room today, those that we are honoring with our awards today, and many others in this room, have connected the why, the opportunity, and the action. I am proud and honored to be here with you, to celebrate with you, and to honor our award winners. And now I want to introduce you to Steve Muddy, the CEO of Volunteer Fairfax. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Rick. I'd like to ask all of the Volunteer Fairfax staff and office volunteers and interns to please stand or wave, come to the door from the lobby if you could. I would like to just recognize them now. This is the most professional, hardworking, passionate group of people I have ever worked with. I want to recognize and thank all of you for making this very special event that it is. Thanks again, Rick. Nominees, nominators, valued partners, and distinguished guests. Today we celebrate the best of the best in volunteerism. We recognize outstanding efforts of both quantity and quality of volunteer work, and it's the quantity and quality I want to focus on for just a moment. Ask yourself, why do I volunteer? Am I volunteering because I feel a social responsibility to serve my community? The answer is very often yes. Now ask yourself and answer honestly, do I volunteer because it makes me feel better about myself? The answer to that one is probably no, it's not about me. Then how about this one? Should I only sign up for volunteer activities that I personally want to do, that appeal to me? The answer is yes. In my 50 years as a volunteer, and now as CEO of an organization centered on volunteering, what I see every day is this. While the spark to volunteer may come from a person's sense of duty to serve, what drives them to volunteer often and makes them a great volunteer over time is a personal connection they have to the work they're doing. We have a great number of nominees and awardees today, as we do every year, so it's likely one of them is sitting at your table. If you asked one of them, what was the motivating factor in doing great volunteer work? I'll bet they would tell you something more than I helped someone. They would also say the experience was personally fulfilling. If the volunteer activity you choose connects to your own interests if it's personally fulfilling to you, we know you're the best possible volunteer that you can be. You'll show up on time, and you'll stay longer at your post. You'll be more productive, hence your work will be more impactful. You'll be more likely to volunteer again, and you'll be more likely to spread the word and bring friends with you next time. Think about the most personally fulfilling volunteer experiences you've had in your lifetime. What made them so? It might have been a personal connection to the mission for which you were volunteering. In my case, the loss of my dad to leukemia at age 57 was a strong driver for me to work as a volunteer for many years with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. You can bet that any day I was questioning if I had the spare time or the energy to volunteer, there was a personal reason I showed up. So I would ask you to take a moment to learn from one of the many people in this room who are consummate volunteers. What's behind their motivation to volunteer? We want you to share your reasons for volunteering with us, because starting today, and for the duration of what is going to be our 45th anniversary year that kicks off next month, we will be building a public awareness campaign around this simple notion: volunteering, it's personal. This coming year, join me, join Volunteer Fairfax, and join the leaders in volunteerism who have filled this ballroom today in spreading the message that it's okay to be choosy about your volunteer activities. There's something out there for everyone. When you find what that is, we know you're going to make that volunteer experience count. That's what we mean by volunteering. It's personal. Thank you all for your service to the great people and the great communities of Fairfax County. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Steve and Rick. For more than 2 decades, Sharon Bolova has been a tireless advocate for our community as a member of the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors, where she has served as chairman since 2009. Thank you, Supervisor Bolova, for being here this morning to help us honor these volunteers who exemplify the culture of engagement and characteristics of Fairfax County. Please come to the stage.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. So I always announce at this time that I'm not a morning person, along with some other members of our board who I will not mention, so that if something happens this morning, you can always say, well, she said she wasn't a morning person. So it is my role to read the official proclamation recognizing Volunteer Recognition Day. Let me just say thank you to everyone who is being honored, all of our nominees and our sponsors. In Fairfax County, we really do have a special and a unique culture for volunteerism. There is nothing that happens in Fairfax County without volunteers being involved. A very short little story, many years ago, when the government changed in Russia, I had a little program where Russian government officials would come and spend anywhere from a couple of weeks to longer living with and learning from Fairfax County families. And one of those gentlemen was Vladimir Anchutkin, who lived with us for actually 2 months. And so Dick, my husband, got up early one morning and asked if Vladimir would like to join him, that he had a volunteer activity with St. Mary's Catholic Church. And he asked Vladimir, do you have volunteerism in Russia? And Vladimir said, oh, yes. People say, I volunteer you for this, and you're volunteered for this. And then he was very surprised to find out that both he and Dick were engineers, scientists, and they wound up picking up trash along 123. And we do that in Fairfax County. We do that in Virginia. We adopt a highway and keep the streets clean, and we volunteer in hospitals, and we volunteer in libraries, and nothing would happen in Fairfax County without the kind of volunteerism that we have. And so, it is my honor. This is also a proclamation that passed unanimously at our board, and that's not unusual for things to pass unanimously on our Fairfax County Board of Supervisors. The proclamation states, whereas volunteering is a personal journey, connecting you to others is good for your well-being, brings fulfillment, and leads to a healthy, wholesome, and thriving community. And whereas government, with all its depth and breadth of powers, is reliant on the everyday citizen to willingly help fill the gaps that may exist in our community. And whereas democracy, at its core, seeks to engage the laboring hands, the thinking minds, and impassioned talents of its citizenry to give back to the community. And whereas we, the people of Fairfax County, have benefited by the volunteer service so many have given without regard for recognition or reward. Whereas Volunteer Fairfax, with more than 40 years of creating better communities through service, will today recognize more than, and you're here, 170 honorees at the 27th Annual Fairfax County Volunteer Service Awards ceremony. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors, on behalf of all residents of Fairfax County, does hereby proclaim Wednesday, April 24th, 2019, as Volunteer Recognition Day in Fairfax County, and urges all residents to observe this day by joining together with friends and family, neighbors and coworkers, fellow employees, faith-based communities, schools, and civic groups to celebrate the personal experience of volunteering. Congratulations to everyone.
And now, can we recognize the outstanding service of Chairman Bulova, Supervisor Cook, Supervisor Hudgens, and Supervisor Linda Smith as they complete their last terms and retire from the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors. I don't know if they know this, but Volunteer Fairfax actually has a program where if you're retired, we can find something for you to be engaged in.
Thank you all again. Fairfax County is honored to have such great leaders working on its citizens' behalf. Congratulations especially to all, again, that are retiring. It must be a wonderful feeling to actually retire. I feel like I have decades ahead of me. But now for the reason that we are all here early this morning, I have to echo what Chairman Bulova said. I'm not a morning person, and I have a 2-year-old. And I feel like they can sense when something is different with the morning routine. So that's what happened this morning. But it is awards time. Who's ready for awards? We will begin today's ceremony with the Benchmark Awards, which recognize those who have given an outstanding number of hours to the community in the past year. The award includes adults who gave 250, 500, and 1,000 or more hours of service. Wow. The Benchmark Awards also recognizes youth who have given 100 hours or more to their community. We're pleased to recognize 89 volunteers who will be receiving these awards. Benchmark volunteers are being honored with a certificate for their devotion to service and the community. The full list of recipients, along with their organizations, is in your program. So next up will the 11 nominees of the Youth Benchmark 100 Hours. Please stand up and be recognized. Thank you so much for all that you do, all that you've done, and most importantly for strengthening our community. You can be seated. Now we will move on to the 32 honorees of the Benchmark 250 Hours. Please stand and be recognized. Thank you all for everything that you do. Please be seated. Now we'd like to recognize the Benchmark 500 Hours. Please stand and be recognized. Thank you to the 14 honorees for the Benchmark 500 Hours. Thank you so much for helping Fairfax County thrive and prosper. Please be seated. And last but certainly not least, we have 6 honorees for the Benchmark 1,000 Hours. If you could please stand and be recognized. Thank you for your service. Please be seated. The commitment of these Benchmark nominees have for our community is inspiring, and many, many lives have been transformed. Some of you know the stories up close and personal, so we have to thank all of you all. Now let's meet our community champions. Each member of the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors has the challenging task of choosing just one volunteer from their district to receive the coveted Community Champion Award. Each year, Volunteer Fairfax honors community champions who have dedicated their time to improving the quality of life here in Fairfax County. Each community champion will be met on stage by their supervisor while I share their stories with you. Let's get started. Braddock District Resident Alan Boswell Robertson, please come to the stage along with Supervisor John Cook. While they're receiving their award, let me tell you a little bit about their story. Some parents take their children to the lake for vacation. Children learn to skip rocks and climb trees and swim and appreciate nature while developing those important childhood memories. Close your eyes just for a second and imagine a world where this did not happen. Alan Robertson works to ensure that Lake Aquitaine is preserved for generations to come. As the president of Save Lake Aquitaine, he's led major grassroots effort to raise awareness about proposed changes that could result in the disappearance of the lake and to mobilize support. Alan organized many community events where he encouraged neighbors to be involved in decisions concerning the preservation of the lake. As a result, the community supported making the investment necessary to preserve this community gem. Thank you for your stewardship to Lake Aquitaine. Congratulations, Alan. Thank you both. The next community champion is Drainesville District resident Homer Johns. He was nominated by Supervisor John Faust. Please join me on stage. It's my understanding that Mr. Johns is unavailable to attend due to a personal injury, but if you could accept this award in his behalf, and I will share his story. He's taken volunteers to another level. Fighting fires is typically seen as a job for most people, but not for Mr. Johns. For over 52 years, he held nearly every administrative and operational leadership role, including president, chief, assistant chief, treasurer, secretary, and board member between the McLean and Great Falls volunteer fire departments. Mr. Johns is committed to ensuring that the best volunteers in our community are fighting fires and saving lives. Thank you, Mr. Johns, for keeping the spark of volunteering alive. Congratulations. Thank you. Please welcome to the stage representatives of St. John Newman Catholic Church who have been nominated by Supervisor Kathy Hudgens of the Hunter Mill District. In early January 2018, Fairfax County experienced a brutally cold Arctic chill. Adequate accommodations were needed for our homeless citizens, and in response to the need, St. John Newman Catholic Church activated the Hypothermia Prevention Response Program. A safe shelter was provided to the guests, as well as all meals, warm clothing, and a place to sleep. However, that's not where the hospitality of St. John Newman stopped. There was live entertainment and lots of fellowship. The guests reported that the church was a warm and welcoming place that treated them with dignity. 2 former guests who are no longer homeless dropped in for fellowship and a meal. They remembered the church's kindness and wanted to give their thanks. By organizing and housing a hypothermia shelter, St. John Newman Church demonstrates a sense of compassion by providing a place where all are truly welcome. Congratulations to the St. John Newman Catholic Church community for showing that you care. Thank you. Supervisor Jeffrey McKay nominated lead district resident Liz Murphy and as his district's community champion. Please welcome to the stage Liz. And Supervisor McKay. Liz Murphy works to create fair and equitable chances for children through her leadership as the president of People for Equity in Fairfax County Public Schools. Her work impacts the lives of many by way of increasing equity among our students. This mission falls in line with Fairfax County's One Fairfax initiative. Through her outreach efforts and mentorship, she's left an impact on many, whether it's struggling students in school, a child that needs a Christmas gift, community members who need help, a helping hand from faith-based organizations, or a child who needs a home. Liz is there at every corner, helping all that she can. Congratulations, Liz, for always working to make our community better for future generations. Congratulations. Mason District Binod Gupta was nominated by Supervisor Penny Gross. Would you both please come to the stage? Binod identified a community problem and set out to solve it. His collaborative work with the Supervisor's Office, Park Authority, and the community at large placed dividends beyond anyone's wildest dreams and restored pride in Backlink Park and the neighborhood. It can be really frustrating to look at a space that is meant for the community only to find it unusable. There are people in our community who saw this space and did nothing about it, and then there were others who saw it as an opportunity for greatness. After many months of Binod's community advocacy, the Park Authority prepared a plan that not only cleaned up the parkland and removed damaged play structures, but totally revamped the park with new trails, fitness, and play equipment, and even a gorgeous new picnic pavilion. Binod is now trying to set up a Friends of Backlink Park group to hold annual cleanup events. The newly refurbished park is now a centerpiece for outdoor activity, walkable from surrounding residential neighborhoods, as well as a destination that now has a larger and more welcoming park area. Congratulations to Binod Gupta for working to make the park a place for all. Thank you. Mount Vernon resident Jonathan Keel was nominated by Supervisor Daniel Stork. Please join me on stage. Every great community needs a great emergency preparedness plan. With natural and man-made disasters surrounding us, the Office of Emergency Management Volunteer Corps Jonathan Keel has been instrumental in building disaster resiliency efforts here in Fairfax County. His dedication to educating the public on disaster preparedness is second only to his enthusiasm about the topic. Since joining the Office of Emergency Management's Volunteer Corps, he has been involved with social media campaigns, helped present the mission of emergency management, and has been on the forefront of the community resiliency groups. From verifying data on functional needs registry to participating in events as the Preparedness Awareness Weekend, to creating literature for community resiliency groups and approaching new and continuing members, Jonathan goes the extra mile to make sure Fairfax residents are well prepared for disasters. Congratulations, Jonathan. The Oakton Women's Club was nominated by Supervisor Linda Smith of the Providence District. Welcome them to the stage, please. Statistics show that children who do not eat breakfast are less able to learn. Hunger can contribute to a student's lower test scores, attention, behavioral, emotional, and academic problems. Bottom line, it can be hard to focus while trying to learn in a classroom setting on an empty stomach. Oakton Women's Club works to make sure Fairfax children, especially those at Luther Jackson Middle School, get something nutritious to eat. Their latest project was their partnership with No Kid Hungry and the Fairfax County Public Schools to help supply breakfast to hungry children through the Second Chance Breakfast Program, a model for other Fairfax County Public School middle schools. Congratulations, Oakton Women's Club. Your service continues to benefit all in the community. Springfield resident Jenny Cantwell, nominated by Supervisor Pat Harity as his district's community champion. Jenny Cantwell is a champion for women's sports and promotes women's sports development throughout the county. She serves on the Athletic Council both as secretary and formerly as vice chairman. She's worked tirelessly to improve children's educational and developmental opportunities, in addition to advocating for women's sports opportunities within the county. Jenny Cantwell, thank you for your dedication and congratulations. Let's welcome Sully District resident Carol Robinson and Supervisor Kathy Smith to the stage. If one were to look up the word volunteer in the dictionary, you will find a picture of Carol Robinson. Her impressive volunteer resume includes a lengthy list of organizations she devoted her time and energy to serve. Her enthusiastic can-do attitude inspires other volunteers in the many organizations with which she works. In addition to all of her extraordinary volunteer work, Carol donates food, clothing, books, and school supplies throughout the year to nonprofit organizations including Western Fairfax Children Ministries, Catherine Hanley Family Shelter, Habitat for Humanity, and Bright Paths. Carol is an unwavering champion for her community, and the Sully District greatly benefits from all of her efforts. Carol, thank you for your leadership and your guidance. Congratulations. Fairfax County resident John Pellegrin was nominated by Chairman Sharon Bulova. Welcome both to the stage. Your student might have run into Judge Pellegrin. Why, do you ask? He runs the annual Ethics and Leadership Day for over 70 students and presides over mock trials. John Pellegrin is a stalwart figure not only for his unique style and warm personality, but for his dedication to Fairfax County, having served as Chairman Bulova's appointee to the Small Business Commission for more than 10 years, offering invaluable knowledge and guidance on issues that affect all parts of the county. John, thank you for sharing your passions and for being a staple here in the Fairfax County community. Congratulations. What an impressive collection of community champions we have here this morning. Let's give them all a big round of applause. Now to this year's competitive awards with 14 competitive categories. We honor volunteers of all ages, interests, and abilities. Volunteer Fairfax would like to thank this year's independent panel of judges. The judges could only select one award recipient for each category, and with 150 individuals nominated, this was not an easy task. Judges evaluate nominations using criteria such as the impact on the organization, program to which the volunteer service was given, and overall contribution to Fairfax County. As our judges are also engaged members of the volunteer community, we ask them to recuse themselves from voting on any category in which they had a connection or relation to a nominee or representative. We will begin the award for the adult volunteer who has served over 250 hours, and the award goes to Danae Delman. Danae's work has helped hundreds of patients and their families in our community walk through their toughest time in their lives, saying goodbye to a loved one. In one instance, Danae came alongside a family who had hired a living caregiver to provide additional support. By doing so, she was able to provide for the family to focus on the patient's desires, hopes, and fears at the end of their life. Danae's true gift and skill is to comfort those who are facing serious health challenges. As a hospice volunteer for Capital Caring, Danae has helped those facing life-limiting illness and injury by showing care and compassion. Hospice volunteers not only help patients, but they help family members to honor their loved ones. Danae is an advocate for educating community on the benefits of hospice care. Thank you, Danae, for your compassion and congratulations. Our next category recognizes the adult volunteer who has served over 250 hours, and the award goes to Julie Hill. Julie, please come to the stage. Julie is passionate about sustaining an organization's mission. Under her leadership this past year, the Reading Together Board of Directors completed an 18-month excellence in governance program to enhance governance, develop a strategic plan to shape the course of the organization over the next 3 years, and received the top statewide Best Practices Award from the Commonwealth Council on Aging, a new program called RT, Reading Together Express. Additionally, in her role as board chair, Julie led her own Navy Federal Credit Union volunteer team on 2 repair projects. Thank you, Julie, for your hard work and dedication. Congratulations. Now on to the Adult Volunteer Group Award. We are pleased to give this award to Ollie Photo Group. Will members of Ollie please come forward?
We just want to have that press
A group of 41 retirees took time over the holiday to take professional portraits of military personnel and their families, including their pets. Each family or individual received a flash drive of their photos and 1 printed portrait. The Photography Club at the Usher Lifelong Learning Institute at George Mason University never passes up an opportunity to provide free services to organizations in need of professional level photography in Fairfax County. The club, a group of retirees with a passion and knack for the lens, has donated thousands of hours in photographic services to benefit wounded servicemen, Fairfax County, George Mason University, and other worthy causes in Northern Virginia. The list of its community service projects is extensive and especially impressive given the average age of the photo club members is about 70 years old. The Photo Club has undertaken projects over the past few years to benefit Fairfax County government. Even our very own RSVP Northern Virginia and some of Volunteer Fairfax's programs have benefited from Ollie's services. Congratulations, Ollie. Thank you for always being there to get a perfect picture. Our next category is Fairfax County RSVP Northern Virginia Volunteer of the Year. RSVP personally matches those 55 and better with fun and meaningful volunteer experiences. And this award goes to Shelley Brosnan. Shelley, please join us on stage. Shelley has been with RSVP for 3 years, but she started sharing her time and talents with Volunteer Fairfax nearly 20 years ago. Shelley supports a variety of causes by volunteering for more than a dozen nonprofits, including Food for Others, Volunteers for Change, Children's Science Center, Bright Paths, the Shepherd Center of Annandale Springfield, Facets, and Cornerstones. Fellow RSVP volunteer Sue Dussinger, who nominated Shelley, says Shelley is special because she's so willing. Once she gets involved, there's no stopping her. Shelley has just got that certain drive. Volunteering and helping others is just so very important to her. Shelley volunteers more than 500 hours of her time in a typical year. She also supports RSVP as a volunteer engagement leader, shepherding new recruits into the world of senior volunteering. Carly Lubicki, RSVP's volunteer specialist, says Shelley truly puts the needs of others before her own. She is committed to a life of volunteerism and is quite inspiring. Shelley not only models a true volunteer spirit, but actively engages in the betterment of our community through her selflessness. Shelley not only affects the people she is helping, she influences the volunteer managers and volunteers she works with. Kim Bluckabaugh, program manager of Volunteers for Change, says, "When I tell people who the volunteer is that has made the biggest impact in my life by inspiration is Shelley Brosnan, without a doubt." Carly says Shelley's dedication to service is evident in everything that she does, and it inspires those around her. Many of my other volunteers have commented on the amazing work that Shelley does and how it pushes them to do more. Congratulations, Shelley. The next category is senior volunteer, and this award goes to Alcira Piernat. Going to court isn't daunting enough. Imagine having to respond to questions and read through court documents that are not in your native language. Enter Alcira Piernat, an outstanding interpreter for the limited English proficiency community, who is fluent in French and Spanish with a passion to help. Alcira has earned the respect and love of the county and state court personnel. She is the first to take on the most complex cases regardless of length or obstacles. In 2019, Alcira reached a new status of mentorship where she prepares interpreters for court hearings. This is a very difficult skill to develop, but she does it with a big smile and great energy. She brings her creative, proactive, professional, and knowledge of the court process to help organizations such as Department of Child Support Enforcement, Northern Virginia Legal Services. Her clients have stated the following about her work. Mrs. Piernat is respectful and knows how to help without intervening in the court process. Thanks to Mrs. Alcira, our case got a process sooner. The clients all agree that she makes a difference every time she is with a client. Thank you, Alcira, for your long-term volunteering and being there to help everyone in their most critical moments. The next category is the volunteer program. This award recognizes an organization that has demonstrated effective volunteer management practices through its creative, innovative, and/or greatly increased use of volunteers, and this award is presented to Echo. Please join me on stage. Echo, are you here? Wonderful, thank you. Celebrating 50 years, Ecumenical Community Helping Others. ECHO is an acronym, by the way. Better known as ECHO, provides financial assistance, food, and referral to other human service programs and to those in short-term emergencies. Additionally, ECHO provides donated clothing, household items, and school supplies to low-income families. Here's a quick snapshot of how ECHO impacted the lives in 2018. They managed 930 food visits, distributed 192,000 plus pounds of food. More than 1,000 clients received more than 4,000 bags of clothing and small household goods. Families with children in school received 1,200 plus backpacks filled with school supplies. worth more than $55,000. During the holidays, the Echo Christmas Shop distributed new toys, games, and clothing to 200+ families, which provided holiday gifts to more than 600 children. All of this work was volunteer-led and managed. Congratulations, Echo. You exemplify that through love and compassion, anything is possible. Thank you. Now on to the Youth Volunteer Group, and this award goes to the most energetic and inspiring group of young people, Stony Brook Junior Volunteers. Please join us on stage. The Stony Brook community is part of the Community Preservation and Development Corporation, a not-for-profit real estate developer dedicated to providing safe, high-quality, affordable housing and low to moderate income families and individuals. The group continued to run programs and events in the Stony Brook community, ranging from bingo nights for adults to summer sport programs to early childhood education reading programs. They work to grow, plant, and harvest vegetables from a community garden they built, the bulk of which was donated to community residents facing food access issues. They organized and ran a community take for nearly 150 residents, including creating carnival games, baking treats to hand out, and running giveaways and activities for attendees. The groups also continue to run a door-to-door recycling collection program, picking up recycling every Monday afternoon directly from residents to encourage and increase the amount of recycling in the community. In April 2018, the group was chosen as the face of a national service campaign, the Scooby-Doo Good campaign, sponsored by Scooby-Doo, Warner Brothers, and Generation On. 60 youth worked to clean up a highly polluted stretch of Little Hunting Creek immediately behind Stony Brook. Congratulations, and thank you for all your hard work. Your group has impacted Fairfax County in numerous ways through your acts of volunteering. Now let's recognize our youth volunteer with Carmela Gale. Please come to the stage. Carmela's efforts in service have stretched across volunteer organizations and causes, having a far-reaching effect on the Mount Vernon area of Fairfax County. In her own community, Carmela has a hand in nearly every program, from organizing and running an early childhood literacy program called CPDC Reads, to assisting in the planning for the Stony Brook Community Day, to running a door-to-door recycling program. Most impressively, Carmela was given the responsibility for running the Stony Brook Community Garden, which has harvested nearly 50 pounds of fresh produce that was handed out to low-income community residents facing food crisis. She has run movie nights for youth, bingo nights for adults, and been a summer tutor working one-on-one with youth in math and language arts to avoid the summer slide. Congratulations, Carmela, and thank you for pioneering your way with your passion for volunteering. Thank you. Next award goes to a deserving family volunteer, and the award goes to Linda and Stephanie Klein. When our neighbors are most in need, whether they are displaced in the aftermath of a home fire or a major disaster such as a hurricane, this mother and daughter team lead a group of volunteers who operate emergency shelters, provide meal and beverages, and care for members of our community during their darkest hours. Linda and Stephanie Klein serve together in regional volunteer leadership positions with the American Red Cross National Capital Region. Linda, in her role, oversees all sheltering, feeding, and other major response functions in times of emergency or disaster. While Stephanie is responsible for identifying, training, and deploying qualified volunteers from the National Capital Region to fill positions on disaster relief operations. Together, they have managed the shelter that housed over 100 seniors that were displaced due to fire, teamed with the local fire departments to install smoke detectors in homes for our community, and facilitated preparedness events to adults and children, and conduct orientations for our local disaster action teams. By ensuring that volunteers are physically and mentally prepared for the rigors of service in difficult conditions, this duo provides a critical and essential service not only to the Fairfax community, but the entire country. Thank you, Stephanie and Linda, for showing us how dynamic volunteering can be when we work with the ones who we care about the most. Congratulations, ladies. On to the award recognizing Fairfax County Government Individual Volunteer. Stephen Richardson, please come to the stage. In case of emergency, you want Steve Richardson on the call. He's one of 3 primary volunteers qualified to drive the canteen, which is a frontline support unit called out to aid firefighters, EMTs, command staff, and police department personnel on large-scale events such as a 2 or more fire alarm or search and rescue or police hostage situation. Only 4 fire stations in Fairfax County have canteens assigned, so they cover a lot of territory and support neighboring jurisdictions. In calendar year 2018, Steve recorded over 900 hours of service for the Greater Springfield Volunteer Fire Department, Fire Station 22. Steve is a Boy Scout adult leader, volunteer at ECHO, and HOA director, providing many hours of service and support to his community. Congratulations, Steve. Thank you for being a leader in our community. Moving on to the next category, which is the Fairfax County Volunteer Program, and the specific award goes to the Fairfax County Public Library. Accepting this award on behalf of the library is Erin Chernisky. Often forgotten in the age of Google, public libraries play an essential role in providing safe, accessible, and 100% free educational resource centers for communities across the county. The Fairfax County Public Library System is one of the dynamic links that connects residents to local and global resources for lifelong learning and self-enrichment. Here are some quick stats. In 2018, more than 1,500 volunteers selflessly gave their time, donating more than 107,000 hours of service. A staggering 11.1 million books and other materials were circulated within the Fairfax library system, and nearly 1.3 million items were placed on hold by library customers. Handling a volume this large would certainly be an overwhelming task without the library's circulation volunteers, who spend every day processing materials, scanning items individually, and using computers to properly process each item. Thank you so much to the Fairfax County Library Volunteer Program for keeping our county well-read and making sure people in this community have a safe place to read and work. Congratulations. Now let's shine some light on the Rising Star category. This award goes to Stephanie Bridgewater. A shelter can feel like the furthest place from home for a stray animal. To bring a little bit of warmth to the Fairfax County Animal Shelter, Stephanie has lovingly handcrafted many decorations and covered items to enhance the animals' area at the shelter. Her amazing talents have helped many different events at the shelter, such as Jurassic World, Mad for Plaid, Cats Canna Wanna Go Home, and the ever-popular Academy Awards. These events help promote and generate traffic to the shelter so that the community can take part in the events, enjoy the amazing talents of our volunteers, and learn about pet adoption and care. Stephanie is one of the Fairfax County Animal Shelter's biggest contributors with her ideas, resources, talents, and generosity. Congratulations, Stephanie. Your service impacts the shelter and the animals in countless ways. Congratulations. All right, let's take a minute to recognize our corporate volunteer program as the award goes to Mount Vernon Center for Dentistry Group. not being able to get any relief because you do not have dental insurance. The practitioners at the Mount Vernon Center for Dentistry recognize this as a problem and have committed to setting aside 1 hour a week to treat residents who are in dire need of dental work, in pain, or need procedures that community clinics do not provide. In 2018, the center donated over $35,000 in free dental care to formerly homeless and disabled residents of New Hope Housing. On May 11th, the dental group hosted a free dental service day where they treated 21 adults and children and others residing in a nearby shelter. They have provided everything from x-rays and basic checkups through to creating complete sets of dentures for clients who cannot afford them. It was noted that from the receptionist to the doctors, each person at the Mount Vernon Center for Dentistry was welcoming and courteous and helped patients understand everything that was happening at each appointment. Thank you, Mount Vernon Center for Dentistry, for compassionately serving the community and attending to the health needs of our residents. Congratulations. And the final category recognizes the Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, Kevin Holland. Please join the stage. When the Hidden Oaks Nature Center faced closure due to budget cuts, Kevin found a way to keep the doors open. When he saw that a valuable community resource was threatened, rather than looking away, he welcomed the opportunity to make a personal impact in Fairfax County. The Nature Center was due to be closed to the general public and only open for scheduled programs during the week. In the midst of an exhibit renovation, the center was also due to be mothballed. Using his business acumen, Kevin started the Friends of Hidden Oaks grassroots organization to mobilize a campaign to reopen Hidden Oaks to full hours. After a successful campaign that included presentation to the county's Board of Supervisors, the center completely reopened within 6 months. In 2018, Kevin was honored for 25 years of service to Fairfax County's Park Authority. His commitment to volunteering in Fairfax is reflective of the superlative standard which merits the Volunteer Service Lifetime Achievement Award. Congratulations, Kevin, for your lifetime of service. Thank you. If our Board of Supervisors can remain on the stage while we close out the program, I think we can give a well-deserved round of applause to the 2019 Volunteer Service Award winners and nominees. Congratulations to you all. Job well done. Thank you.
All right, we got it done. I'll see you Saturday. That's the last, or I'll be at the